Hello everybody. I'm here in Italy in my kitchen. I apologize, it's dark. I don't have very good lighting here. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to make a dish called pasta alla matriciana. So I'm going to start by adding just a little bit of olive oil to this pan. And then I'm going to add pancetta. Now, normally you could use guanciale for this, but the little market that's near where I live does not have it today. So I bought this instead, but I have to say, this smells absolutely amazing. It does not at all smell like the pancetta that you buy in the United States. It really smells pretty amazing. Um, so I'm not sad about using it at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this brown up a little bit, and when it gets brown, I'm going to take it out of the pan and set it aside. And then I'm going to add some onion to this pan and soften the onion. And once the onion is softened, I'm going to add what is called passata. And this, I bought at the store, and believe it or not, I think when I can find this in the United States sometimes. I think I bought some at Trader Joe's not too long ago. But it was like $7 a jar. This cost me 55 cents in euros to buy this here. So, great deal. So, I'm going to let this brown. Again, my gas is weak as well. So, it's probably going to take a little while for that to happen. So, I'm going to go off camera for a while and wait for this to brown up some. And then I'll be right back. Okay, so it's probably been, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 minutes. And this is getting where I would like it to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fish almost all of this out of here. And the cup that I had it in originally, I lined with a paper towel. And I am going to put it, I'm going to leave some in there. I'm not going to take it all out, I'm going to leave some in there. So I'm going to set that to the side for now. I'm going to go ahead and add the onion. This is red onion that I had chopped up a little earlier. I'm going to add a little bit of salt to that. And just a little cracked pepper. I'm going to start to brown these onions, or I don't want them brown. They're going to sweat these onions. That's what I want to say. I do want them to be nice and soft and clear. And I'm also going to be adding just a little bit of white wine to this. My friend who lives here was kind enough to bring me a bottle of wine because she knew I was coming. She picked me up from the train because you can't really fly in to where I am in Alessandria. I fly into Milan, and then I take the train from Milan down here. It takes about an hour, maybe sometimes a little longer, depending whether you get a direct a direct train, or you have to make changes of the train somewhere. So I was lucky enough to be able to get a direct train this time. And so it took me about an hour and 7 minutes to get here, and then she picked me up from the train station and brought me home, which was super nice of her, by the way. So one day this week, once I get settled in and I'm no longer jet lagged, I'm gonna try to invite her over and make a dinner for her. So what I'm gonna do now, because like I said earlier, I don't want the onions to brown. I do want them soft. I'm gonna add some of this white wine that she brought me to this pan, and that's gonna slow the cooking down. It's gonna do two things. It's gonna slow the cooking down, and it's gonna release all the foam from the bottom of this pan. And all that delicious foam flavor is going to end up in my sauce. And by the way, I have the worst kitchen tools in the world here because I don't get to spend as much time here as I'd like to. So everything's kind of haphazard here. Now I'm just gonna let this wine cook out, like completely cook out, before I add the tomato. And once I've added the tomato, then I'm gonna turn the heat down as low as I can. I'm gonna add a little bit of sugar to it, just a little bit of sugar to it. And then I'm gonna turn the heat down as low as I can and let it just cook away while I'm waiting for the water to boil. Because like I said earlier, I have very weak gas here, so it takes like forever for me to get water to boil. So it's kind of like, I don't know how you say, when they say the watch pot never boils kind of thing, it's really super true here because it takes forever for both. But you know what? It's a small price to pay for being here. I love being here. And, it's my wish to be able to live here full time when I am able to fully retire. Right now, I'm still living most of my life in Seattle and still work. At some point in time, I'd like to be able to give that up. And I'll tell you what, it's so cheap I went to the market today and I bought all the things that I needed to make this meal. And I spent 14 euros and 38 cents. If I would have bought all these things in the United States to make this meal, it probably would have cost me about $70. So, and one of the things too is because I'm not in one of the big five, like I'm not in Milan, I'm not in Naples, I'm not in Rome, I'm not in Florence. I live in Alessandria, which is it's a good sized town, but it's not a tourist town. So everything's a lot cheaper here. Rents are a lot cheaper here. Houses are a lot cheaper here. Food's a lot cheaper here. But even if you go into Rome or Florence, you'll still be able to buy food much, much cheaper than you can buy it in the United States. Why that is, I really can't explain, but it is massively cheaper. And one of the things that I absolutely love about being here is that it is massively cheaper to buy food. I'm going to turn this heat up a little bit. I'll be here all day if I don't. So all that fond is nicely released now. So the reason that I had left some of this meat in here and I took part of it out, as I mentioned earlier, put it in here, and I lined it with this paper towel so that it would absorb some of the fat, because I'm going to use this for a garnish later. But I really wanted this meat to cook in the sauce and really make that sauce super flavorful. And I'm like 100% certain that because this meat smelled so delicious and so good from what I'm used to buying. I find, when I buy pancetta in the States, and it's normally manufactured in the States somewhere, it just is not the same as it is when you get it here. You get this aroma that's amazing. It smells rich and porky, and I can put it on for like cologne. That's how good it smells. So, I'm getting a little carried away here. So this wine has almost cooked completely out. And we're just about to add the passata. Now, passata is a tomato product, and what it means is passed. And so what they do is they take the tomatoes and run them through like a food mill. In this case, I'm sure it's a gigantic machine someplace. And you don't get the seeds, you don't get the skins, you just get a really nice tomato puree. And the texture of it is completely different than any kind of tomato sauce that you would buy in a jar in the States. It makes a much lighter sauce than the sauces that you're used to getting, the jarred sauces that you're used to getting in the States, because those sauces are usually very thick and they're usually loaded with all kinds of preservatives and all kinds of sugar. And this is just pure tomato, and it is delicious. And it makes a much lighter sauce than a jarred sauce that you would buy in a store in the States. And I wish you would be here, or you could be here, to taste this with me, because you, I'm sure, would agree with me that it is, see if I can do this without burning myself, amazing. So let's see if we can have a look at that. Now, of course, not the light's not good. But you can see it's almost like a jam. It's the point that it's cooked down to. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this mugi, the passata. And I'm only going to use maybe half of it. I'll save the rest of it for another meal later because I'm only cooking for myself. I'm here by myself. So I'm just going to pop this in the fridge. And I'll use it in a day or two. And I'm going to let this cook until it just comes to, a little bit of a boil. I'm going to go ahead and add the sugar. And for those of you who have watched my videos in the past and you always complain that I never measure anything, God, look, I'm measuring something. I'm using a sugar packet because that's all I have here. So if you wonder how much sugar I'm putting in, get yourself a sugar packet and put it in, and you'll be right spot on. All right, let's put that in the garbage. And then I'm just going to keep giving this a little stir until it comes to the point that I want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and turn this fire up a little bit again. And as soon as it starts to bubble, then I'm going to turn the heat down again, and then I'm going to wait for this. I'll go off camera during that period of time because this is going to take a while. One of the things about being in Italy, one of the things I love about being in Italy is that you never have to be in a rush to do anything. Nobody rushes to do anything. So I'm not going to rush to make this meal. I'm not going to get panicked because my water's not boiling. It'll be ready when it's ready, and I'll use it then. So I'm going to get myself off camera, and as soon as this gets a little bit of a simmer to it, I don't want it to boil. I just want it to get a little bit of a simmer to it. As soon as I start to see it bubble, I am going to put the lid on it and turn it down as low as I can and just let it sit there. And look at it, it's already happening. I'm just going to let it sit there, simmer away until my pasta water is ready. All right, lid off camera. Be back with you soon. Okay, so after about nearly an hour, the water is actually boiling. And like I told you before, I don't have the best tools here in my kitchen in Italy because I don't spend enough time here. So I don't have a lid for the water, and I finally decided that I needed to speed this up. So I used a skillet as a lid because I really didn't have anything else to use. So I'm just going to drop that over there right now, and then I'm going to add some salt to this water, and it's a generous I don't want to say a handful, but near a handful of water. And then I'm going to use this pasta that actually has been here since the last time I was here. So I just drop it in there. And I stand it up. And I kind of want the pasta strands to be almost like the poles of a teepee. I don't want them to be like in a bunch or a ball, because then they stick together. And no, we do not put oil in our pasta water. That is a gigantic no-no. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to let this pasta cook for, I'm going to say, the package says 9 minutes. I'm going to let it cook for like 6 or 7 minutes, because in Italy, we like our pasta extremely al dente. You want, when they say al dente means to the tooth, when we say to the tooth, we mean we want a little crunch in the middle of that pasta. And so, whatever the package normally says to cook pasta, I usually do it for like 2 to 3 minutes less. And then I'll take it and I'm going to finish it in the sauce. So I've actually removed the sauce from the fire. I put it on this fire back here because these two pans don't fit very well together on a stove. It's kind of small. So I had put it back there, and I had turned that burn down as low as I could get it to go. Oddly enough, after all this talking I was doing about how the stove doesn't get very hot, it was kind of cooking too fast. So I was pushing it back and forth to try to keep steam in it without it scorching the sauce. So I'm going to have about 6 minutes of this pasta cooking here. And then I'm going to remove it from here and add it to the sauce and let it finish cooking for like a minute or two in the sauce. Because that way the pasta actually absorbs the flavor of the sauce. It actually soaks into the pasta noodle itself. And then you end up with an amazing, delicious plate of pasta that will be nothing like you've ever had in, well, I don't want to be, let's say like at a certain restaurant that is named after a garden and a olive that shall remain nameless, but it's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be authentic. It's going to be delicious. It's going to be al dente. It's going to be amazing. So a couple of minutes here, and I'll be right back to finish this off. Okay, so the 6 minutes have passed. I'm going to fish my pasta out of this pot. I'm going to use this little gadget to do it. You've probably seen one of these before. Normally I don't use this to take pasta out of the pot, but it's the only thing I have right now. But you know, the thing that's interesting about this is this little hole that you see in here. They say that if you push the spaghetti through there, that's a portion for one person. So if you aren't certain how much pasta you need for, say, 2 or 3 people and you're making spaghetti, you can push it through that little hole, 1, 2, 3, you have a perfect portion for 3 people. So we are going to use our little handy dandy gadget here to fish the pasta out. Yes, there's a little bit of water in it, but you know what? I want that because I want it to do 2 things. It will help the sauce adhere to the pasta, and it will actually make the sauce a little more, how do you say, like rich or luscious, or it'll give it a bit of a texture that you won't get if you're not doing that. So now I'm just going to let this, stir this around in here. Making sure that I coat every strand of this pasta with the sauce. I'm going to cook in this sauce for just 1 more minute. So I'm going to put the lid back on it for a minute. And I don't need this one anymore, so I'm going to turn it off. One of the things about Italy is things like gas and electric are quite costly. So you really want to conserve. You don't want to waste. I'm like constantly going around turning lights off and it's just like this. I really don't need this pot anymore, so I'm not going to let it just continue to boil. I'm going to turn the fire out because I don't want to pay for the gas. So, that's one thing that you need to be conscious about when you're here is the cost of utilities. I'm using a gigantic fork to stir this around with. And this is going to be ready in about 30 seconds. So I'm going to find myself something that you can enjoy it out of. And I'm going to use this nice, good sized bowl. So I'm going to remove this from the heat. Just pour it down the drain. And then I'm just going to sit it down there for a minute. Don't need this anymore. Or that. So I am now going to begin. Again, turn that fire out. I don't need that anymore either. Plate my pasta. And I'm going to do that by using, what do you call this, a ladle. Using a ladle and my big fork. And I'm going to put that fork in my pasta. And I'm just going to twist it until I get a nice form. I'm going to just drop it right down in there. See if you can see this. So you kind of, lost it there. Looks like it has a spiral effect to it. That's what you want your pasta to be plated like. Now, I made a mess out of it. I am going to finish this by adding some of the guanciale. No, it's not guanciale, it's a pancetta. The guanciale that I had cooked earlier. I'm going to garnish the top of it. And then this is grana padano. I'm going to sprinkle some grana padano on top of this. And if you like, you can add some peperoncino, which are those red pepper flakes that you often see on the tables in Italian restaurants. And I just happen to have some here. So I'm going to sprinkle them on there. Not too many because they're really hot. I have some pasta left in here and I'm probably going to eat some of it later. So I'm going to put the lid back on it to keep it warm. And I am going to enjoy this delicious dish of pasta. Grab myself a fork and a spoon. I'm just going to give this a nice little mix, get everything all mixed together, and now I'm going to find out if I did a good job or not. Just roll it up. And mm, mm. That is amazing. Super flavorful. Sorry for talking my mouth full. The taste of that pork really comes through. And the sweetness of the tomato, not overpowered by a bunch of other crap. The cheese, oh, perfect kiss. A little bit of hot pepper, a perfect kiss to this plate. It's just delicious, what can I say? So I'm going to put this recipe on my blog, and hopefully you'll visit my blog. Try to make this yourself at home. I promise you, you won't be sorry you did. It's so good. And I'm gonna go now so I can eat this. And I hope to be doing more of these videos while I'm here in Italy. I haven't had a lot of time to do it while I've been in the States because I've been working a lot and have a lot of other things that I've had to deal with while I'm there. But I have a lot of free time here, and I've decided to use it doing this. So, alla prossima, e grazie mille. Gotta try this dish. You won't be sorry. Ciao.